ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದೇ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹಾಡಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ
ಬೈಕ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಪ್ಪ ಸಂಜೆ as a guest speaker to this workshop. So I request our beloved chairperson, Professor S.S. Malini, and Mr. Ravi Kala to come on the dais. Now I welcome our chairperson, Professor S.S. Malini, to welcome the gathering.
Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to this special session. And today we have a special guest, and he'll be taking you people to a different world. And as I was interacting with him, since from his student days, ma'am was telling one of the best student she has seen in her career, very humble, and because of his noble qualities, he has reached the top level in the IT sector. And we are all very fortunate to have such eminent personality with us to share all his experiences and interact with him. And it's a great pleasure for me to introduce such a person to you people. Let me brief about him. His education qualification, MS in Information and System Management, SPM-SC University in the year 2001. Then he did PG Diploma in Bioinformatics from our university. So he is alumni of Mysore University. We are very proud of you, sir. He did lot of research in his field, like IT and OT integration, industry 4.0 in Pharma, and maintaining a pharmaceutical operation during a pandemic through innovative and remote technologies. Very interesting. And the bioscience bets big on integrated DCS, IT, and OT convergence, elevates security posture for information technology, operation technology, and how Anthem Bioscience has involved in digital transformation. That also he took it up. And at present, he is Head of Information Technology, Process Automation and Instrumentation of Anthem Bioscience Private Limited. And he started his career after education in the 2001 to 2002, application developer and Linux admin. Later, he served in Mysore University 2002 to 4 as a senior faculty and consultant. Then he worked in CMRTI as a senior system admin in the year 2004 to 6. Then Biocon also he worked like a system lead. Then later on, he took up this Anthem Bioscience Private Limited, and he's head of the Information Technology, Process Automation and Instrumentation Unit. And it is a very lengthy biodata. So with this brief introduction, it's a great pleasure for us to welcome you, sir. I request Dr. Chaitra to welcome him with a bouquet. On behalf of University of Mysore and from the Department of Genetics and Genomics, and from all of us, on behalf of myself, from the participant side, a warm welcome to you, sir. And over to you, sir. Please take the dance.
So I can start.
Yeah, please, sir.
Hi. Good afternoon. I think it is a long week for all of you, right? Some of you are participating from last 1 week. I'm here to share my experiences. I'm not here to, give you some kind of a theoretical knowledge. I'm here to share my current experience and also how the industry is heading and what kind of skill sets as a student you need to develop or upskill the current as per the current industry requirements. So how many of you are from computer science? Okay. Very few people. So how many of you are from biology? So most of it. Okay. So it is a difficult task for me because I am into technology from last 20 years and I can understand a little bit about biology. I'll try to explain how the drug discovery, how many of you are having awareness about how drug discovery happens? Most of you are studying in college, right? You might heard about the drug, vaccine development. How many of you are aware about the complete cycle of the drug discovery, 360-degree? Yeah. Okay, it will be very interesting. Even I thought, after completion of my post-graduation, I thought, okay, I'll go and join some Accenture or IBM. I got opportunities, but I don't want to join with them because I want to learn something which is unique. That's why I just came and joined in the University of Mysore under Amatwal ma'am. I first picked up the bioinformatics. I want to do geoinformatics because I was very passionate about how to do, geographical kind of mapping and use the technology to nab the criminals kind of a thing. And then somehow they convinced me, why don't you look at bioinformatics? So that's why I landed in bioinformatics. I don't know whether it is accidental or planned myself. Okay, I'm not sure. Today I'm in my biology industry, like pharmaceutical. Last 20 years, 4 years I'm in academics, and 16 years I'm with pharmaceutical. So 15 years with Anthem Bioscience. I'm heading the IT, and you might see another technology called operation technology, which is called OT. So it's very few people in India who's leading the operation technology. So I will also define what is IT and what is OT. Most of you know, right? IT means information technology, not income tax. Okay. So I just want to, be more interactive. Okay. In case if you don't understand, please buzz me because I may have to skip certain, topics, or I need to speed up my entire, 2.5 hours session. IT means information technology. Most of you are not aware. So how many of you are aware about operation technology? OT. All of you are aware? Few of you are. Okay. It's nothing but OT is IT is you have software and hardware, right? So use the software and hardware and network and all these things to connect to the devices or use them for data processing kind of a thing. So the operation technology, it means you use the IT hardware to run the processes, business processes that can be manufacturing, that can be R&D, that can be laboratory equipments. So those technologies runs on the IT platform. So that is why it is called operation technology. It's not OT, operation theater. Okay. So it is IT and OT integrated means you can do complete digital transformation or you can create a data lake. So how many of you are aware the main core functions of pharma industry? Be interactive, otherwise it'll become a boring.
Developing drugs.
Developing drugs. Okay. So how it starts the development? R&D. So it's one of the pillars. The second pillar, manufacturing is one of the pillars. Then
Marketing.
yeah. Clinical, yes, clinical development and clinical trials, right? That's another pillar. Then
Marketing finally.
Formulations. After that, you have before clinical, you have to do formulations and clinical and then commercialization. there are subsets of from one phase to another phase, right? So just I wanted to give glimpse of how the drug discovery happens in pharmaceutical. Next slide. Slide take.
Word document
PPTs.
entire document.
ಅದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಇದಲ್ಲ okay so this is expected when we start IT is not so reliable. I copied this one. Mysore University ಅಂತ ಇದೆ PPT. Can you connect here? Can we make a HDMI so that I can even show the live activity? HDMI. Major pharma and life science and agri-biotech kind of industries. We support most of the companies across the globe. Right now, we have 2,000 employees. Started in 2007 with 10 people. Today, $1 billion company, and 2,000 employees are working. There are 3 sites currently available, and we are operating from 3 sites. One is in Bombasandra, it's a 5.5 acre campus. Another one is an Harawal industrial area. It's a 15 acres. That is where we started building this smart factory. The first smart factory in pharmaceutical in India. And we at par with global companies. We are much better than German or any other pharmaceutical companies, what you hear in the market. So most of us, most of our customers, our vendors, who appreciated this kind of initiative, because most of the pharma companies, they're not very transparent. Let me put it like this. So we are very transparent, and we do not want, our customers or regulatory, need to worry about data integrity. So how many of you know the data integrity concepts in pharma? So this is the one skill sets you have to really think about. If you want to be in pharma and life science, you should really, really learn what is data integrity And what is GXP? So it can be good manufacturing practices. If you are going in a manufacturing side, you should know GMP principles. And if you are going for laboratory side, preclinical research or bioanalytical lab or analytical labs, you should learn about GLP, good laboratory practices. If you're going for clinical space, then GCP, good clinical practices. So there's something called GCP, good cloud practices. So that is something different from pharmaceutical. If you're hosting your applications in AWS, then you should know about good cloud practices. So GCP, GMP, and GLP is mandatory. All of you should learn, because as an industry, we face this kind of issues. So what happens is during audits, especially FDA. How many of you know that FDA? Most of you know, right? So FDA controls most of the drugs because US is the highest consumption for Indian market. Worldwide, 60 to 70% of drugs are consumed in US. So we are the second largest exporter of generic drugs or APIs to the world. So after China, we are the largest. After IT, biotechnology and pharma is the second highest industry in India itself. So that is why Indian government started initiating pharma clusters across different states, right? So Hyderabad is hub, Gujarat is hub, and apart from these two, Bangalore is after, Biocon is there, and there are a lot of other companies in Bangalore, right? So after IT, BT and pharma and life science and healthcare is the second business. Now, most of the IT companies are recruiting life science professionals because they need to support pharmaceutical companies. So they need domain experts. So they are expecting some kind of a computer skill sets also. So it's better to upskill yourself. Being a life science graduate or postgraduate, you should also learn computer science, some of the concepts, especially Python. There's a lot of digitization, a lot of people are talking about AI and ML. And also it's better to learn the regulatory aspects. You can become a domain expert in these companies to set up the applications to support the pharmaceutical and life science companies. When you have application, it has to be qualified. So we'll also talk about a few slides about how is equipment is qualified, how the processes are qualified, how they're validated in the entire drug discovery cycle. So if you see, Anthem offers chemical services. We started with chemistry, means R&D, custom synthesis, a novel molecule for the customers. You name any top 10 companies, we will be working with them on their drug discovery. Most of the companies are outsourcing it. The way, like for example, Mysore University need some application. They hired software company to develop it instead of having in-house resources. Similarly, most of these pharma companies started outsourcing the activities because establishing a R&D or manufacturing facility is an expensive process. So they don't want to establish it within their campuses. They want to outsource it for the various reasons. So those are the companies Anthem will be working. Apart from that, we also have our own product development innovation center. So we do a lot of drug discovery. So most of you heard about the recent COVID drugs, the wave 1, wave 2. What is a popular drug? So we were part of the entire program. So we worked with innovator. Who is the innovator of Remdesivir? So I'll show the equipment which is used for manufacturing it. So we are not a formulator. We don't do formulations, the final, tablets or injectables, or we don't do that kind of thing. We only manufacture, or we do R&D, or we do preclinical, not clinical. So we have recently started clinical setup. So it may take another 2 years to build a clinical space. But we are into R&D space in chemical, in discovery biology, and fermentation based. We also have a biological plant. The first API, biological API, is getting launched from India to US market for a US customer. I cannot reveal certain names because of the confidentiality. And I, being an IT, and we have to ensure that the entire company's IP and client's IP has to be protected. So I cannot reveal certain names. So offline, you guys can discuss with me. Certain things I can't disclose in a public forum where you are doing a live streaming. So you can discuss with me on offline. And we also started preclinical research 2008. But these are the recent additions like fermentation, biologics. 6 years back we started. Now we are into biosimilars, and we are also developing monoclonal antibodies, MABs. Okay. This is the company progress, and these are the offerings. We do it. We have chemistry service, quality control, and quality assurance. Whatever you do, QC is the mandatory. If it has to be GMP and GLP kind of environment, quality assurance and quality control plays a significant role, right? So we have chemical vertical, biological vertical, fermentation-based vertical. We also have preclinical research. We also have formulations. Recently, we entered into formulation business. So we do bulk formulations from the day one. We have probiotic formulations, nutraceuticals, food and nutraceuticals, animal probiotics, animal food feed supplements, industrial applications to support, oil and gas, leather, and all. This is a quick introduction about the company. Today, this is the biggest problem in any industry. I just this is the manufacturing example. Then you can apply to R&D also. If you look at the screen, what do you understand? There are manufacturing process. There are people who are working, generating a lot of data, information, right? So what is this barrier? So this is what exactly industry is working. I can give one of the example. One of the largest customer, they're working on oncology and anti-inflammatory, 2 drugs. Same company, from same country, same site. They started asking me, I don't want oncology team to review anti-inflammatory programs. An anti-inflammatory program guy should not review the oncology information within the same company, right? So imagine when you are working in a manufacturing, R&D, preclinical, clinical, formulation, how much information you generate, and all paper-based. Most of the pharma companies are paper-based. I hope all of you are following me. Most of the companies are paper-based. Very few companies going for digital transformation. After post-COVID, most of the companies have realized it. Manpower, they were thinking manpower is cheapest in India. Technology is expensive. We don't want technology. Let us go with traditional or conventional manufacturing. Now, what happens with traditional and conventional manufacturing? You are having manufacturing, and in this manufacturing, you do production, you do testing, you do packing, dispatcher, sales, everything functions. Like another side, you have quality department, sales department, R&D, accounts, purchase. So there are barriers. They don't talk to each other. The information flowing between each other is really, really tough. We generate millions of records. Say, for example, Anthem has more than 3 sites. So what is manufactured in site 1, the data remains there only. The site 2 guy will not have complete visibility of what is happening in site 1 and site 2 and site 3. Imagine there are pharma companies who's having more than 100 countries presence. They manufacture across the globe. Same product is manufactured in different countries. Imagine the data, what they generate. It is treasure. It is asset for them, but they cannot capitalize it. There are programs which is killed. How many of you know that there is no medicine for certain therapeutic areas? Can you guess the number? 10,000 diseases do not have 100% medicine which can cure. Now the companies have started focusing by using AI and ML and they want to bring the drug discovery, and they want to bring the drugs which are failed somewhere else, and then they want to use the old drugs which are expired patents, or so there are certain drugs can be used for multiple diseases. Remdesivir is the best example. Do you think that remdesivir is for COVID? For what disease they invented remdesivir? Ebola. Good. So where remdesivir becomes so popular across the globe, right? So we do not have any scientific evidence whether it will work or whether it won't work, but that's a emergency use, means there is a drug which has to undergo clinical trials and they have to produce the results, then they have to approve the drug. But unfortunately, we do not have any choice, so that being used as an emergency drug. So if you look at this slide, what do you understand? We also work in class, right? 30 students are doing different experiments. Do you have a mechanism of sharing? Unless until you open up, you go and tell, I invented this. This is the way to collaborate it. How many of you are collaborating with each other? In your lab, are you able to see the previous students, what they invented, what kind of projects they carried out, what are the experiments they conducted? Why do you want to repeat the same experiment if the experiment is failed in the same conditions? Imagine if you are able to collaborate with other university kids and within yourself, or there is someone has done some kind of innovative, but they couldn't continue that. Why don't do you have a facility right now? Okay. Can we get live, this is the experiment which is conducted by another university, and unless until they publish the paper, it is very difficult to get the information in a real-time manner. Can you get that information? Unless until somebody has to go and search the online journals. So how many of you have access to online expensive journals? So this is a real practical problem, right? Similarly, in industry also, we have the same problem. So you have a lot of assets on a paper base, and no one knows it, who has done. I can give one of the best example. 10 years, 11 years back, we did one molecule, like you have LCD displays, right? LED displays. We work with one of the largest LED manufacturer. So we are part of it. So we are not aware about it. After 5 years, we came to know that, we are part of the LED manufacturing. They use a lot of chemicals. So that program came back again. The scientists were struggling. They are not aware who has done this experiment initial days, 14 years back, 12 years back. The final step, they are not able to make it. So with digital systems, they're able to find out. They came to IT, they came to me. Since I'm there for the last 15 years, I could understand what is the project. And I immediately went to the folders and I recovered from the backups because it's a 14 years old data. So we recovered backup and we gave them. So they were able to solve the problem. They were struggling for 3 months. So that is a practical best example. You in pharmaceutical, if you go to shop floor, you will have 100 equipments. If you go to laboratory, you will have 100 different type of instruments and equipments. You go to quality labs, you have HPLC, you have GC, you have LCMS, and you have GCs, IR, UV. You have at least varieties of 20 to 30 equipments and hundreds. They generate a lot of data. And no one knows it, where this data, where it is stored, unless until you have a digital kind of a system, right? You can go to the next slide. So this is what exactly it happens in a manufacturing environment. You will have multiple PLCs, HMIs, human machine interfaces, and each equipment is connected with that. They don't connect with each other. They don't talk to each other. And this is how exactly in the current industry, right, operating it. Any pharma company we go, you see PLCs, HMIs, SCADA systems. The information resides, they don't collaborate it. They can't collaborate it because there are heavily dependent OEM whoever developed the equipment, fabricated equipment, and we have to depend on them. This is the current problem. And most of the industries right now thinking about going for digital. So I just want to explain what is digital, then I will start explaining what is the drug discovery cycle, where we can use these concepts. At least I want to introduce the digital industry 4.0, IT OT integrations, then how it can be applied in R&D, manufacturing, clinical, and formulations. You can go to the next slide. So this is how the industry evaluation started. Industry 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like you have 4G, 3G, 2G, right? Mobile. How long it took from 2G to 3G? Maybe 10 years. 3G to 4G. By the time you adapt 4G, 5G has come. Similarly, here also people have started talking about Industry 5.0. We are not even fully prepared for Industry 4.0. Industry 5.0 is there, Pharma 4.0, Quality 4.0, Clinical 4.0. So this has become industry specific. So what is Industry 4.0? From the Industry 4.0 only, Pharma 4.0, Quality 4.0 all started. Fourth generation of industry revolution is currently undergoing. And right now it is fifth generation. And people started talking about sixth generation. So we're not even implemented fourth generation, but already research is going for fifth generation and sixth generation. So if you look at first generation, the most of the industries like mechanical, rail engines, steam, from industry 1 to 3, and third generation is computers, right? So you could have seen mainframe computers. Most of you would have not seen it. I started my career with 4 GB RAM, I think. There was a floppy disk, and that itself is very expensive those days. And computers are very, very like diamond. All of us will have gold now, but very few people will have diamond. So similarly, the computers were like a diamond that time. So now if you see the fourth generation, it is intelligent devices. How long it took from conventional mobile to smartphone? Few years, right? Now the fourth and fifth is all IoT. Intelligent sensors. It's nothing but the intelligent sensors which is taking decision based on AI and ML. You can do a lot of AI and ML. AI and ML is a hyped one, to be honest. It cannot be applied in everywhere, but definitely it has a significant impact on pharmaceutical industry because we have huge data, billions of records, millions of records. Can get to the next slide. So if you see here, it took almost 120 years from the industry 1 to industry 2. And again, it took almost 70 years from second generation to third generation. And again, 50 years. But if you see from 2015 onwards, 14 onwards, people started talking about Industry 4.0. So it's a very self-explanatory. I don't need to explain because I don't want to create a boring kind of session. So hope you understand Industry 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we are in a fifth. So what is Industry 4.0? You will see robots, autonomous robots. You also have RPA. That is different. Robotic process automation. If you want to do some repetitive task in an organization, say for example, you want to enter some data manually, you don't need to do it. You can put a digital worker by using RPA. So that RPA will do. Especially COVID, a lot of digital acceleration has happened. Companies started adopting RPA significantly because humans are not available. So they created digital workers. So similarly, you have robots also is going to be play a significant role in pharmaceutical industry, manufacturing, because humans, when we enter into manufacturing areas, we carry a lot of contamination, especially clean areas, classified areas, biologicals, and fermentation-based kind of thing. The other one is simulation. In a conventional R&D, as a scientist, say for example, you hired as a scientist, you have to do experiments, right? And you might repeat different conditions, different parameters. So people are doing a simulation or design of experiments at the laboratory level or at manufacturing level. How do I know that this particular, whatever you do in R&D may not work out in a large scale manufacturing? Best example, you can cook for one person, but if you want to cook suddenly for 1,000 people, is it possible? You may success, you may fail. So there is a risk. So what happens in pharmaceuticals, they do gradual scale up. So that's also process of developing it. Once the batch is qualified, once the process is qualified, they can't change equipment, they can't change supplier, they can't change even the batch size. If it is 100 kg, whether you have demand or not, you have to produce 100 kg. So let us talk about that problem also. Now the current problem is we qualified a specific product 100 kg and our customer need only 20 kg. That too he can consume that 20 kg for the next 5 years because it goes in grams, milligrams, and then it's formulated, right? Irrespective of that, I have to produce 100 kg. Either I have to dump with the customer inventory or I have to keep the inventory because of the stringent qualification process which is established by the regulators. Now you also see in Industry 4.0 horizontal and vertical systems integrations. So let us talk about few things like cybersecurity, so additive manufacturing, augmented reality, and big data analytics, and industrial Internet of Things. That is what IoT, right? So this together, if you implement it in your processes, is called Industry 4.0. You need to have intelligent sensors, you need to have cybersecurity, you need to have flexible manufacturing or digital sensors, and you need to use big data for the analysis and all, and collaboration and communications with the stakeholders. That is what Industry 4.0. Next slide. So what is the design principles? You get interoperability. Today, you might see, right? Whatever you develop, certain things, right? You can't work in another computer unless until you don't have, if you don't have software. Say, for example, your computer, just layman language, you have a Microsoft Office. Another computer, Microsoft Office is not there. Can you open the Microsoft document? It's not interoperable. You need Microsoft Office to open the document, or you need any other document editor to open the documents, right? So that is the biggest problem today. We, you have different OEMs, supplied equipments, they generate the data that can be proprietary. So there are many people, right? Like GE is there, Philips, there are many companies are there. Now whatever GE generates data, Philips, software may not read it unless until it is interoperable. That's the biggest challenge, and that is what is addressed in Industry 4.0. And virtualization, and most of these, smart factory. So similar soft copy will be available for the simulation. You have a factory with equipment, sensors, everything. You take that copy and put into soft copy as a virtual copy, and then use for simulation in a real-time scenarios. That is what is one of the design principle, decentralization. So most of the decisions are taken by centralized. Means you have to go to a PC, that application has to go to the PC, and then PC has to take a decision. The sensors will not take decisions, right? Now the intelligent sensors are decentralized. They are capable to take the decisions then and there itself. Another one is real-time capability, service orientation. This is one of the best example. If the equipment or sensor is getting failed, it automatically services on its own because of the digital capability. We use a lot of sensors. pH, dissolved oxygen, and optical density based on certain parameters. We also have temperature. So these are sensors which need to be calibrated. Some of the sensors has to be calibrated during batch, after completion of batch, some of them 6 months, yearly once. So if it is all digitally self-service kind of a sensors, it can correct themselves. Any error can be a potential failure for the drug. If they don't sense it and they don't act on real time, it can lead to potential failure of the drug. So that is why the service orientation and modularity, it should be flexible. Today, most of you guys seen, right? And COVID disrupted like anything. Supply chain got stopped. We have a problem. Industry is facing severe shortage of supplies of raw materials. The prices are 4 times. We were buying 100 rupees means today 400 rupees. Earlier, 10 to 20 suppliers were there. Today, only 3-4 people. And you can't negotiate with them. So another thing is, and say for example, you have built a factory to manufacture a drug like paracetamol. Now today, the demand is vaccine. Paracetamol also equally required, but vaccines are highly demanded. It took time for the industry to build. So that is where companies are realized it. We need to be flexible in manufacturing based on the customer demand, based on the market demand, how quickly we can adapt this technology, how we can, implement this technology. So these are the 6 design principles which has to be used in Industry 4.0. Go to the next level. So this is one of my old slide. 2015, people were thinking like this. In 2020, things are changed. In 2022, this is before COVID. Predictions. After COVID, a lot of things are eliminated. People should be creative. People should be flexible, intelligent, and humans are getting replaced in many places with digital. That is true. But you need a human brain also. In life science, without human, nothing can go. In other industries, it can happen, but life science and pharmaceutical, you need humans. Same time, the human should be tech savvy. They should upskill themselves. If you come with the conventional skill sets, you may be outdated in industry. So you guys should think about some of the tech upskills which you need to really look at it, the areas of interest, and what is the industry expectations. You should upskill yourself. This is the smart factory. Already a lot of companies started adapting it. Biggest challenge today is supply chain. So this kind of smart factory is going to help us. Who are the global suppliers, how they're producing, when can we receive the material, and when we can start production. Because of some supply chain disruption, the entire value system started getting affected. Say, for example, you are doing preclinical research and you may have to do experiments with guinea pigs, rats, mice, right? And they should be specific age, 4 weeks, male and female rats. And if we don't get the material compound for screening, what happens to the animals? You have to sacrifice them. It's all very expensive. Some of the animals are 5 lakh. How many of you know that these are genetically modified breeds, which are very expensive? So this is how the smart factory future. Everybody, your customer knows that when the product is going to get delivered to him, you will know when you're going to get the material from your supplier. And flexible manufacturing and custom medicines. Today, the biggest challenge is the ecosystem is not integrated. People are talking about personalized medicines. So how it is getting manufactured, you know that what is the medicine or what is the right combination they're using it. How many of you know that when you see the tablets or, any drug, how many of you know that where are the sources? So that is what industry is moving now. You should know what is the source. How many of you are eating, vegetables or food? How many of you know that where is the source? Very rarely, unless until you go and buy, right? So similarly, the smart factory concept is the customer should know where is the source and how it is manufactured and who are the suppliers for that particular drug, who are their suppliers, how are the ideal conditions. There are so many counterfeit drugs were available, remdesivir. Because of the high demand, people started adultery. How many lives we lost it because of counterfeit drugs? Globally, there are lakhs of people are dying because of adulteration or counterfeit, are not maintaining in a right conditions. That is also very important, right? Most of you would have seen drugs like 2 to 8 degrees. It has to be stored in 2 to 8 degrees from the manufacturing to consumable. Any vaccine should be at a minus or less 2 to 8 degrees, right? So this entire ecosystem is not available. Today, if you see a drug or vaccine, you don't know how they're manufactured, who are they manufactured, how they're stored. That's a problem, right? So in future, you're going to see the smart factory, and already government started initiating it. The blockchain kind of adoption in pharmaceutical. So these are the aspects of value chain because of the industry 4.0. You enter from metal procurement to dispatchers. You may have a lot of equipment, sensors, processors, people, stakeholders, distributors. Everything is going to get impacted because of the digitization. Go to the next slide. So this is called a digital enterprise, starting from product design, product planning, production engineering, production and services. Today, people are talking about real world data, RWD, and real world evidences. Real world data and real world evidences, people are talking about it. So if you see here, the product is designed, planned, and engineering, production and services. This is what is applied in even pharmaceutical, even in manufacturing. You are doing an experiment of design of an experiment, then you are executing that experiment, and you are doing manufacturing, and also you're testing, and then you are doing a lot of clinical and regulatory, and then releasing into the market. Go to the next slide. And most of you know, right, big data, it handles a veracity, velocity of 4V principles it is applied. The data is huge in pharmaceutical. Conventional database like RDBMS will not support. So people started adapting a big data and analytics out of it. Go to the next slide. So this is the typical drug discovery pipeline. So what is happening here? You have target-based approach. Someone selected a target, and this would be my target disease, where I want to focus research on these areas. Say, for example, you want to do COVID-19 or COVID drug discovery or COVID vaccine. That's a target you have started. And you may start with industry sponsorship or academic sponsorship, right? So with that, you will go into discovery phase. You will do screening, lead optimization, and then preclinical, then phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then you go for registration with regulatory, and then go to commercialization. This is a high-level drug discovery cycle. How many of you are aware any drug to release into the market? What is the minimum time you require? Forget about COVID vaccines and all. 10 years. How COVID has come in with COVID vaccine came into the market within 1.5 years? Yeah. So how they rapidly released, still it's not 100% followed the entire process. It was an emergency use. But by using the technology, they were able to speed up the entire drug discovery. Today, companies are pressurized to take the decisions within 18 months.
So better we use gas in the
Yes, everywhere, everywhere.
That's how they could able to
Yeah.
come fast.
Come. So it is basically most of the companies. I personally aware about one company who was involved complete vaccine development for one of the large pharma company from starting R&D to commercialization. There are a lot of activities. So they used their technology platforms to screen from R&D to commercialization. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, previous slide. Yes. So here just want to talk about little the same research. You have to start with R&D. Any drug discovery starts with an R&D. Then you do small scale up manufacturing, feasibility studies and preclinical research, in vivo, in vitro, living cells and non-living cells. They use it. And after that, they will do small scale manufacturing to see the feasibility of the manufacturing. They go to clinical, and before going to the clinical, formulations and formulation development happens, and then clinical, right? Now, after that, commercialization. So how technology is used today is, few companies are adapting from R&D to commercialization. They're using a lot of technology and software to speed up the cycles. Earlier, it was taking 10 years and 2 billion to 3 billion investment. Any molecule to come out, especially cancer molecules, the company principal investigator or principal company has to invest 2 billion or 3 billion. Their R&D spend is very, very high. That's why the drugs are very expensive, because once they innovate the molecule, once they commercialize it, they will try to maximize the profits. It's not one R&D. They do 100 R&D programs. One of them will be successful. Some of them even won't get success out of 100. So they may have to extend another 100. So there is a huge investment into R&D. So that is why the technology is used to reduce this gap. Instead of 10 years, henceforth, the drugs can be seen in within 2 years and 2.5 years in the market. They want to reduce the wastages. They want to reduce the they want to discover the cycles with a very short span of time. And if you see this manufacturing, it's called good manufacturing practices. Any record what you generate there, it has to be available for 7 years. If it is a validated kind of processes, that record should be available, whether it's a manual or an electronic record, should be available throughout the life cycle of the product in the market. And if you see clinical, it's a GLP. The minimum mandate is 15 to 25 years based on the regulatory requirements. If you see here, you can understand how much time is required. 8,000 candidates. This is one of the research paper which I have took it. 8,000 candidates and 250 candidates and 3 medicines, and finally it become one medicine before it touches the regulatory. The pipeline reduces over a period of time. If you see here, it took 6 years, 3 to 6 years, 6 to 7 years, 2 to 5 years. There is research and discovery, non-clinical development, basically manufacturing in a small scale, and clinical development phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3. And after that, regulatory approvals. That itself will take 1 year. You have to submit all your DMF, drug manufacturing file. And there will be a lot of queries. FDA has to inspect your facility to approve it. Drug authorities has to inspect your facilities, and they have to review and they have to approve it. So it's a long process, 2 to 5 years process to get the approval. 2 years back, we applied it. Because of COVID, the priorities got changed. So the other biggest challenge what industry is facing is, we are manufacturing drugs and medicines. Who are the consumers? End users? Patients, hospitals, clinics. Today, pharma and healthcare. Pharma is different, healthcare is different. And life science is different. Please remember this. Pharma means not everything. Pharma manufactures, or drug discovery happens in pharma. Healthcare consumes it. So today we don't have a real-time feedback. When you release the drug, you don't get the real-time feedback, the performance of the drug, how effective it is in the hospitals or patients. But now, hospitals and pharmaceutical companies are collaborating with each other, and they're getting a real-time data through digital. And most of you are understood, right? Biomarkers, personalized medicines. How many of you know? Yeah. Do you want me to spend a little more time here? How technology is used. So you have a patient, you collect sample, do molecular analysis, use the data analysis, identify the biomarker. And you are suggesting a personalized medicine. This is a very, very high technology right now, right? But this is very, very effectively works for cancer treatments, and especially the diseases which is not curable. There's no drug available. So this is the best way to treat. And there are companies who are using different technologies, CAR-T. There are different technologies, they're using it, and they're into personalized medicine. And this is going to be the future technology. And if you guys are interested, you should really look at this kind of innovations. Otherwise, you will become a one among them, right? So you will have 1,000 people walk into a company. Recently, we advertised it. There are 1,000 biologists. For 10 positions, 1,000 biologists were available. Just imagine 10 positions, 1,000 walk-in interview. So unless until you upskill, it is very difficult. Now, this is one of the, the concept or technology which is picking up right now. So this is another thing called personalized digital twin. You have biology, you have data, you have models, and people are started talking about digital twin. You don't need to know the skill, no need to know the IT. But the company who is working on this kind of thing, they need domain experts. You should have practical experience and you should contribute. And you only should learn certain technologies, certain innovations you should carry out inside your labs, starting from today. You should be a differentiator. You should talk about your language to the developer. I'm a programmer. How will I understand what is gene? What is biology? What is cell? I will not understand what is metabolic parameters of a body. Someone has, like you have to explain to me, then I can think about, I can write the coding. Now the coding is also automated. Yourself can learn Python. Yourself can learn a lot of skill sets. A lot of tools are available. How to use the tools and produce the results. If you only depend on wet labs, it's not going to help. The wet plus dry. So that is what you should look at it. Go to the next level. We spoke about the clinical trials, right? This is what the difference between conventional and personalized medicine. Say I assume that there is a cancer research which is going on with colon cancer, colon patients, and there is a therapy which is available. The same therapy will show some effects. There are few set of people who get cured. Same therapy when applies to another set of people, no effect. Few people will have side effects. There are three possibilities. Same drug works very effectively with certain patients. Same drug will not work with certain patients. And some patients will have adverse effects. Because of the drug, it may create the side effects. If you see the personalized medicine, you are collecting the blood, DNA, urine, and tissue samples, right? And you do analysis by using AI and ML or any other kind of tools, intelligent tools to understand. And that therapy you are customized it. So whoever is getting treated, they will have similar kind of effect. Just now I told you the clinical trials means you select the patients. You need some volunteers, healthy volunteers and disease volunteers, and you have to apply the drugs. So imagine already patient is sick. What happened if there is an adverse effect? How many of you will be willing to participate in clinical trials? Then how drug can come to the market? So what is the alternative mechanism? Cell lines, animals, patients. But most of the patients will not be willing. How many of us will allow our relatives to undergo clinical trials? Volunteers, ma'am. Yeah. But if there is a side effect, that is why in the entire pharmaceutical life cycle, you do on, once the molecule is synthesized in the lab, you apply that molecule on living and non-living cell lines inside the labs. You collect the samples, cell lines from the hospitals, or now the synthesizing, right? They're synthesizing your gene. They're synthesizing your or manufacturing your cells artificially inside the labs, and they study, and then they take the next level. Even animals, we can't sacrifice them. There is animal ethics committees coming into picture. There are a lot of research happens on animals. It's highly restricted in many countries now. Then what is the best way to find out whether the drug is efficacy, safety? If you apply it to the volunteers, if there is no safety data is available, the patient may die or you may get adverse results. So that is why we need to have technology applied across all this value chain. And personalized medicine is one of the industry burning topic today because of the various diseases, and there are no drugs are available in the market. Go to the next level. These are the technology trends. You can see digital online consultation. 4 years back, how many of you agreed for digital consultation rather than physical? Right? So this is how the technology is getting adopted. After the tea break, let us go to the smart factory. I can show how the manufacturing. Okay. And this is not confidential, so I can show. But R&D and quality I cannot show. I will show how entire biological, chemical, fermentation based, how we develop from cell line to a finished product. Any questions? Or is out of box? It's interesting or boring? I'm not seeing some very good response, or it is dowsy. Yeah. Thank you.
So you have 10 minutes break.
All of you can see this slide, right?
Yes.
You need mic or can I? Am I audible?
Please use mic, sir.
Mic.
It won't be audible.
Can we start?
Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. See, some of them is very unrealistic 2 years back, right? Most of us could not prepared, accepted online consultation.
Yes.
It is not that it's new, it was available, but it was very rarely people were using it. We used to call doctors on the phone and used to take some kind of a prescription, only known doctors, right? Today, you can collaborate with hospital. COVID actually taught us a lot, and pharmaceutical companies, life science, hospitals went through tremendous digital transformation. Today, you don't need to go to hospital. You can consult doctors. If you go to hospital, what happens?
Fear of,
Most of us know.
yes, sir.
What happens?
Fear of COVID.
Fear of COVID. And if you go to hospital, unwanted tests prescribed it. Repeated tests. These are the things can be avoided if you adapt the technology. Today, how many of us having health records from birth till last minute?
No. No.
How many of us having health records last 5 years back? 5 years. How many of you are having 10 years back records?
Nobody, sir.
Okay.
Probably.
And how many of you are maintaining your parents' records? See, you go to hospital again, you have to start testing. How much money we are wasting? How much e-wastage we are generating? How much medical waste? Any blood, any other sample collection, it takes a lot of efforts, right? And we are paying money and also we are generating a lot of waste, medical waste. How can we avoid these kind of issues? That is what hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, government, even consumers like us, everyone has consumers, right, to hospitals demanding no more service. If you see hospitals, they're all corporate, like 5-star, 7-star, right? So no more service. You don't get service as a free. You have to pay. So you are a consumer to the hospitals, and we are consumer to the hospitals. Now, how many of us have soft copies, records, what treatment they gave it inside ICU, what treatment what medicines they gave it? How many of us are having it?
They won't reveal now, sir.
That is what is going to be changed now. And most of us, how many of you know that the government of India has changed national health policies? It is there for a long time. They wanted to adapt the blockchain by pharmaceutical companies. They want to patient or consumer need to know where is the source, how the drug is manufactured, how the drug is actually supplied to the pharmacy. There are a lot of hands, a lot of stakeholders involved in it. What is the guarantee that drug is not adulterated or counterfeited? We don't know. Blindly we are taking, right? Believing pharmacy, we are taking the medicines. It may be counterfeit drug. So that is where the technology like blockchain and health records is going to play. Blockchain is nothing but a digital ledger. Everyone will have one blockchain number, like for example, digital ledger. All your health records are appended to that. When you go and consult a doctor, only you have to permit him to see the record because it's all encrypted and right. It cannot be tampered. So you have to give a permission to the doctor. What happens? Doctor can open your ledger and can see what are the diseases, what are the treatments you underwent, what drugs is suitable, what cannot be suitable. Over a period of time, you will have a plenty of records, and it can compare with other patients also. If you have a database globally, we can compare, isn't it? Say, for example, one drug is very, very effectively work for a particular disease. The doctor is experimented. How many of you know that there is a drug called baricitinib, which is used in COVID treatment along with remdesivir? Please Google it. Baricitinib in NDTV also is published it. Baricitinib works very effectively along with remdesivir. That is what most of the hospitals are treated in Bangalore. Same information is not available in most of the hospitals. Doctors were reluctant.
We know only about remdesivir.
There is a drug called baricitinib, and if you have Google, you can Google it right now. So you'll get to know what is the remdesivir and baricitinib, how effectively it works for patients who are in ICU. Most of the doctors are not collaborating. Today, problem is it might have worked somewhere else, the treatment, and it is not working, are not aware. So that is what the collaboration, digital collaboration. When you have this kind of technology, it can collaborate it. Now we are talking about personalized medicine. And if you go to typical pharmaceutical industry, you will have ton scale manufacturing. Ton scale. Small scale, like 20 grams to 2 tons, 5 tons. Now, if you want continuously, the medicines has to be manufactured. You need a smaller footprints. That is why the continuous batch manufacturing started picking up. If you want a personalized medicine, the moment the drug is customized and personalized to a specific person, then that has to be produced somewhere else. You might see that one. You guys are young, now 20 plus. In next 10 years, you might see this kind of medicines. You don't need to go. You have to go to the medical shop, pharmacy, or you have to order it online. You will get the medicines in a day. If it's a critical drug, then there may be a formulation which is happening in your hospitals itself. We may see this kind of situations in next 5 years, right? And there's something called body and biosensors. So especially today, the clinical trial happens. You have to go to the clinical trial, or you have to go to the hospital and you have to admit, and you have to be under their observation for 30 days or 45 days or 60 days. They collect the samples if you're a volunteer, or if there's a patient, they start the trials, right? So this is a long process. People are not comfortable. So today is virtual clinical trials. How they get the data? They give the drug and they will monitor in a real time by using body sensors or biosensors. Tomorrow, we don't know. There can be a tablet which is having a biosensor. The moment you consume, it monitors your metabolic parameters. And it also gives the information to the drug maker how effectively it is releasing, how effectively it is targeting the disease areas. Today, we do not have those data. Only clinical trials, they're doing it. And its clinical trials are not for entire population, right? They take a sample. In previous slides, we have seen it, how clinical trials are conducted. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You increase the population from phase 1 to phase 3, phase 2 to phase 3. In a personalized medicine, it's very, very targeted to persons, right? So that is why we need a 3D printing, additive manufacturing, or continuous manufacturing. These are the technologies are picking it up right now in the industry. And also predictive diagnosis. You don't need to go to wet lab, give your bloods and do it. There are biowearable sensors. And there is a way to predict based on your past historical data. AI and ML can predict this person is going to be diabetic after 5 years or 10 years. And with the heartbeat, there are 15 diseases can be identified. only with the heartbeat. People can identify cancer. There are a lot of research publications are published it. Are you guys are reading the research papers? How many have read this kind of innovations? You work on that? Good to know. So there are a couple of doctors that are working on these kind of platforms. Germans are innovated this. With heartbeat, you can find out 15 diseases with AI and ML. Very interesting, right? You don't need to go to clinic. You don't need to give blood. You just have to wear the wearable sensor, and with your heartbeat, heart is the center of the entire body, right? So with that heartbeats, they are able to detect 15 diseases. And another aspect, e-learning. Most of us today adapted. How many of us really thought about online classes, work from home, online? I think university also could have conducted online classes.
Yes.
Okay.
Almost from
So how difficult is adoption of this technology? As a faculty, as a student, as an employee, we have our own difficult challenges because our houses are not designed and colleges are not equipped. So a lot of challenges, right? So today, COVID taught a big lesson. You don't need to be, no need to be present in office to do work. You be there and you can operate remotely. So these are the technologies which we built in 2010. Not by anticipating COVID, we want to extend work from home because we work with a lot of pharma companies or biotech companies who are in a different geographies. And our workforce is to work 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. It's not the safe place, right? To travel after 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So if there is any emergency, they can operate from the work from their homes. That's why we built the remote desktop concepts from 2010. So these are the technology innovations. If you adapt or if you innovate or if you learn, it is always easy to get it. If you upskill yourself, there are plenty of opportunities in the industry. Life science, pharma companies or technology companies need a life science professionals. And how many of you understand AR? How many of you heard AR? Augmented reality. There is a mixed reality, virtual reality, and augmented reality. Right? It's a combination of mixed reality and virtual reality. And doctors are collaborating. How many of doctors undergo physical training? How many of doctors do you think that they have a practical experience when they start their career? There may be rare surgery which is undergoing, which is happening in US. How many of Indian doctors are aware about it? Today, doctors are having a technology. By using AR, they can collaborate it. The doctors need not be here. The specialist need not to be along with you. He can see in a real time. He can guide you. There are doctors who can do cyber knife surgery sitting from here, another country, with the guidance of local doctors, the surgery, operation theaters. That is what IT/OT integration. The entire operation theater is integrated with IT. Doctor remotely doing a surgery.
Sir, is it robotic?
Yeah. Robotic man. So they operate it. Also, they have a glasses, augmented reality, virtual reality. They can see, and the same thing can be broadcasted to the medical colleges. Students can wear the wearable glasses, can see the entire procedure. Just think about these kind of technologies. It need not to be a software guy who can develop this. You also can participate it. You can also develop it. Like this, apply it to your business, your domain. Imagine a doctor wearing a glasses like Google glasses and broadcasting the entire surgery to medical college. All doctors are wearing and seeing the surgery and clarifying the doubts. And that is what real collaboration. Imagine a scientist working in US, scientists in India collaborating with each other in a real-time scenario. That is what called real-world data. Now, industry is moving towards real-world data and real-world evidences. And these are the applications. By using those technology trends, you can do fraud detection, you can identify counterfeit drugs, you also connect the machines, collaborate with humans, and also you can, today you are seeing virtual nursing assistants. One is online collaboration with the doctors. You also get virtual nursing assistants who guide you on the treatment, which tablet, which drug has to be taken, what dosages. Everything is available online with virtually nursing assistant is helping you either physical or bot, helping you to get the treatment on your own as per the doctor's prescription. And most of the surgeries you are seeing today, robot assisted. The typical complicated surgeries are robot assisted surgeries. Similarly, tomorrow you may see in pharmaceutical and life science, robots is going and doing manufacturing. Most of us seen, right? Some of the hotels adapted robots for delivering food because of the COVID. Like, they don't want physical serving, right? So robots are coming and serving to the customers. So tomorrow we may see this kind of infrastructure. Please remember one thing, whatever you do, the cyber security is the core pillar. And these are some of the applications where the technologies are using it. There are ways to detect cancer by scanning your eyes. People can detect lung cancers also with using AI and ML. Retinopathy is another example. One of my friends is working on CT-based brain strokes. Brain strokes is very, very critical, right? So there is a wearable sensor, or it senses 4 hours before the stroke. They're able to immediately contact the nearest hospital, get an ambulance, and the patient can be shifted immediately. Today, patients, best example, recent incidents. I cannot say all those things. The best example, what happened the last 2 months or 3 months back? What happened? If there is a technology is available, and if it can be developed further, the biggest challenge today is getting a regulatory approval. People started startups. There are thousands of startups, 2 million startups in the worldwide working on these kind of technologies. They may break it. There are many of them are got a regulatory approvals also. So imagine there is a wearable sensor which is detecting the brain stroke 6 hours before and contacting your nearest hospital, getting an ambulance and notifying the relatives, and doctor is ready with the surgeon. Surgeon is available. Today, the biggest challenge is when you go to the hospital, the surgeon may not be there. You have to undergo MRI scan, CT scan. By the time they identify the The crucial golden hours, we are losing it, isn't it? So that is what technology is helping. So try to apply technology in your domain and see a better results. Try to upskill yourself. This is what I'm trying to convey to all of you. You have to upskill your areas. Just I'll do only laboratory experiments. After completion of my master's, I will get the job. No. Today's world, industry is expecting additional upskilling talent. There are most of the cancers today, especially a lot of research is going on cancer. Most of the cancers can be predictable, curable with advanced treatments. So how that is possible? Gene therapies, cell line therapies, isn't it? How many of you did a research in India? How many companies are offering personalized medicine?
Around approximately 10.
I'm students, ma'am. I just wanted to know. Yeah. Because you should know what is happening in industry and what are the skill sets they are required so that you can learn and you can apply there, right? For the jobs. Or you can do research. You can collaborate with them. They may also need some talent. How many of you are doing research to find out how many companies are working on gene therapies, personalized medicines, cell development? No response. I'm expecting at least one or two to answer. If you're not doing, please do it. You should know what is happening in India, within India, outside India, and who are the companies developing technologies, what is the requirements, and what kind of skill sets they are expecting it. And you can Google about the company, find out how they are doing it. There are few companies. Please do that kind of research and start preparing now itself. So this is what typical, manufacturing. They will have L0, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. The shop floors. If it's a laboratory, you will have L0 equipments, L1 equipments, and how R&D can collaborate with manufacturing, how manufacturing and R&D can collaborate with quality, external collaborations, internal collaborations, and you'll have a lot of, most of you are developing cell lines, right? Where are you storing those cell lines? Liquid nitrogen. So what happens if liquid nitrogen is over? How do you know that cell lines are stored in ideal conditions? Or you might store in deep freezers, -80, -40. So how do you know that there's no power?
If you have a sensor, then make it.
Similarly, the drug-based vaccine is available. What is the guarantee that it is stored in ideal condition? Just imagine, you're in your lab. You are not confident that the cell lines are stored in ideal conditions and there is no power stop outages and everything is going smooth because you don't have data. So that is what is going on today. These technologies will help you to integrate it, your laboratory, your quality, your suppliers, your customers, human resources within the company, customers, expectations, market challenges, everything can be driven and can be understandable. So this is one of the slide deck. what we do, there are a lot of sensors, a lot of computers. Humans are very minimal. The systems are taking decision. Only operator has to enter these set points, automatic material transfers, inoculations, cleaning, sterilization, everything happens automatically. Operator need not operate it. We have some of the equipments which is having more than 600, 700 sensors. It is impossible to operator to open the valves. At home itself, we will not bother about taps which are running 4, 5 at a time. It's very difficult to close those taps. One person going and closing, how much time will take? Similarly, if you have 600 valves manually opening, and today the biggest challenge is if you have manual data, you don't know whether the equipment is performing as per the intended use or not. Today it's difficult to identify, but you have real-time data and system is doing everything and it finds out whether batch can fail or not. You can interpret how the same product, same stage is performing against the previous batches. That is possible today. So just to give you some of the glimpse of what is quality management system in pharma. So complex. One thing is very constant in pharma is change management. Everything undergoes through change management. So this is a glimpse of quality management system. There are so many steps involved in it. Imagine everything if we are doing manually. How much time will take, how much waste of resources, collaborations, and when you get a regulatory query, how quickly you can respond if it's a paper-based system. I'm just rushing out. This is what happens in pharma. You have a quality layer, you have laboratory information management system, you have quality management system, DMS, TMS, and clinical databases. And in R&D, you will have electronic lab notebook. These are the words at least you should learn. What is electronic lab notebook? Whatever experiments you are designing, right, inside your labs, it can be converted into electronic form so that people can collaborate it. If you have electronic way of recording results, the next generation or someone else in another university can collaborate with you. So similarly, any organization will have enterprise resource planning, ERP, and then manufacturing layer with the PLCs, SCADA, DCS to control the manufacturing processes, which is more complex. In R&D, you do small scale. In manufacturing, you do a large scale. A lot of dependencies, utilities needed, clean utilities, pure steam, processed water, purified waters, chilled waters, means at different temperature, hot water to heat the reactions or cool down the reactions. Is there any questions? I just try to give you a glimpse of the technology adoptions in manufacturing, R&D, and laboratory. So I just want to take you through a small tour.
Adopting technology, especially for the biologists. Like, you mean to say we have to learn the technology by self-learning, or is there any courses offered related to technology for life sciences, something like that?
Yeah. See, so I just generally give technology adoption in pharma and life sciences. It need not to be, you need to learn all these technologies. You should also understand what is the industry expectations. what are the job opportunities or career opportunities available for you? What is their expectations? Based on that, you have to develop your skill sets, upskilling. So learning technology is not a wrong thing, but you should know that companies are expecting digitization, digital skills. There are a lot of companies who is developing these softwares, need domain experts. My intention of giving this is, it's not that only you have to look for life science companies. You can also look for software companies whose need of you to develop these kind of applications. How will you develop application unless until you are domain expert? Unless until you learn entire science, or you have to teach to the developer, right? You have to share your knowledge. You have to collaborate with them. And there are companies who is using those technology. You should know how to use them. The familiarization is one important thing. Second, sharing of your knowledge to the developer to develop the application. There are two sets. One company is developing it. Another company is using the technology to accelerate the drug discovery. Now, if you do not know how to use the technology, and there is another candidate who knows how to use the technology, if you are a hiring manager, then what will you do? Who is the preferred candidate? So that is what my intention. It is not that you have to learn the technology, AI and ML immediately you start doing coding. No, don't do that. It's very difficult for you to start transforming into software. You are a domain expert. You should know what are the tools available, how to collaborate it, what are the industries that are available, what is their expectation, what kind of skill sets you do need it, and what is happening in industry. There are a lot of tremendous digitization is happening, and since you are developing genes or clones, you should know how these clones and technologies or genes are helping society, hospitals, patients, and over the adapters.
So I'm from the other side of the industry where we are actually building this software.
Yeah.
So especially in India, like we do a lot of work for the US companies. I was actually surprised to know there's a genetic department here in Mysore, and I saw the workshop. So professor happened to be in my network. That's the only way I found out. But
You're in my network.
I mean, in my social network. So is there a benchmark, like a crossover between the biotech and the technology in India? Is there a body that acts as a intermediary between the technology people and because there are a lot of bodies in the US like that, but in India we don't. The health policy changed last year, and then we worked on a project for Dell and all that. But that body between, like what you said, classic example is we know what to do with technology, and we know everything in US how healthcare works, how lab works. In India, like,
adoption. Adoption is a big failure.
Is there a body here that acts as a intermediary between, like defines code sets and?
Right now.
Sir,
Yes.
why don't you think here's a very genuine.
Yeah, I understand.
Now, could you link between this industry as you mentioned? And with
Sir,
this,
the problem is in India, the bodies are not there, like independent bodies who is bridging technologies and biotech. That's what you were explaining.
yeah, yes.
So giving a platform for the people, right? There are, it's not there the way it is there in US, collaborations, right? So only industry academic relationship can build this kind of collaborations.
So for genetic, so after COVID, we were doing a study. In fact, we published also for the PMO thing. We were doing genetic variation on mortality and survival after COVID infections. So we were looking for genetic profiling of the Indian population. The one we found was it was very odd. It was done in 2006 and everybody was using the same thing. So are there any bodies like that who are doing, trying to catalog like the genetic profile district-wise? Or
as per my understanding, right now, these are the things which are very, very at policy level. For example, national health policy took almost 7 years to come off. So maybe COVID is really accelerating it. Even the governments are changing, the policies are getting. Even blockchain is not new. They want to try 4 years, 6 years back. In Ethiopia, it is there.
but they couldn't implement it.
To the ground level, because they told us we can get reports in the district hospitals. And we did get some of the digital data, but it's not a usable.
No usable problem.
It's not a very usable thing.
That's another problem. That's why I said interoperability. You get the data, but you don't know how to operate it because the data is not.
And the ironic part is a lot of the technology for the US healthcare market is built here.
Yes.
So we built it for the US market, but for our own market, we're not able to do because
Most of the development, 70% of the IT and BT is happening from India. We have both science, technology. So only one thing is someone has to build this one. That is where most of the software companies are realized it. So they were focusing on banking, insurance earlier. Life science was the last priority. So because we are not adopting technology in pharmaceutical and life science now, today every company started life science practice. They are highly paid, by the way. COVID taught a lot of lessons, and that is where a lot of demand for IT professionals and life science professionals in software companies. You have might see,
yeah,
you may read it also.
we have hired some like healthcare people.
Yeah. Even Accenture, by TCS,
IBM,
Cognizant,
everybody.
Wipro, Tech Mahindra, you name any company, they support pharmaceutical companies. They have life science professionals within their organization who is supporting these kind of programs. But there is no independent body who is going to bridge between technologists and life science doing research. As per my understanding.
Sir, as you said, AI is obviously swapping all the manpower and all that. What is the reliability, sir? Like you said, even
No, it is not going to replace the humans. It is going to help taking decisions instead of you spending a lot of time correlating the data. And in pharma especially, you can't replace the human brain there. And AI will help you to find the insights where you're going wrong. It gives you decision making. It gives you the direction actually, and to speed up the drug discovery. In some places you can replace, but it's not possible.
It's an enabler.
Enabler. It is actually improves your productivity. Instead of 10 years you will take for drug discovery, you may take it 2 years. Everything robot cannot do it.
Yes, that's what I.
It can happen in other industries. Like, tomorrow you will have a software drag and drop. It will customize based on you. Right? Already there are programs are available. You don't need to do anything. Now, if you go to Google, if you start typing, it automatically suggests, right? So today, earlier it was not there. 20 years back.
Any more questions?
Then show the live.
I'm connecting to my office desktop. I'm in Mysore. Office is somewhere 200 kilometers. So the same thing I can do from 2000 kilometers also. I can do from wherever there's an internet. Now today internet is really, really important to connect, right? Now we connected it. This is the chemical block.
It's not very.
Can you show the next one? No, I have to. Give me the fan. You can stop the live. Can you stop the live and there's some problem? I think.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is working, but somehow it's not detecting.
Okay.
They have some problem, I think. HDMI.